Appreciate you being here and taking interest.
Was that Louis' program you were at, the Passion program?
It was Louis Giglio. That's correct.
Yeah.
In 2012, I was a
Yeah,
volunteer there.
We used to live in Atlanta and attended Andy's church.
Yeah, so we actually go to church on a regular basis.
Yeah.
But yeah, Louis inspired me to engage, and Rotary is the perfect organization to take this on.
Tuesdays will be 7-4.
And to see how we've grown is pretty incredible.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Well, if you want that one.
I love it hot.
Can I answer any questions for anybody?
Oh, the chat. What is the chat?
Yeah, I'll go to chat. Yeah.
Yeah, go to chat. And I'm new at this, so I'm not sure how to work this, but
Okay.
Looks like some people are waiting for approval.
Yeah, I'm clicking on them, but I don't know what that means.
Oh. There's
I'm going to go see more coming on.
Here
I'm
it
going to
goes.
go off.
There we go.
I'm going to go off video here, and here we go.
Right.
How's everybody doing tonight?
Great.
Good. Any questions I can answer for you? One thing that we're in the process of revamping a lot of things with our digital media and our website, but we've had a really increase in membership lately, and we've loved to have you all sign up for the action group and also sign up for our newsletter, find out more about what we do.
I did sign up while you were speaking, so got one more.
Okay. Well, thanks.
David, can you hear me?
I can, yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about Regus and how
Sure.
that impacts internationally, or how we connect with that as a local group?
Yeah, so what we have with the RAGAS is we're obviously international action group in 62 countries, but we have over 110 ambassadors across the world. And one area that we have a whole toolkit for ambassadors that you can sign up for. And one thing that we ask is that you, within your club, create a committee and be that chair and be that point of contact. And we've seen just from our ambassadors amazing work. Like, for instance, we have one that we appointed is now on the board, but is in South America. And she has now opened up the entire Latin America for us because of her work and getting involved. The other area that we've really engaged in is Interact clubs. We work with several Interact clubs on this issue as well. And so I would love to give you my contact so you can find out more about what we do, and we can have a conversation. The other thing we do is we have these every quarter. We have events, virtual events, obviously until COVID's over with, and have a lot of topical speakers as well.
We have in the Madison group, we have a international project and program committee,
Okay.
and we're working at trying to establish a network for human trafficking with other Rotary clubs throughout the world. So I've been trying to reach you because I went to a seminar in February in which you spoke.
Okay.
And how do we connect with you? How does one club connect to you?
Yeah, if you send me an email, where's your club at?
Madison Rotary,
Okay.
Wisconsin, Madison.
Okay, terrific. Well, if you'll send me the information, I'm sorry if I missed it somehow, but send me the information. I'll connect with you and love to engage, because one area that a couple areas we're focused on, as I mentioned in the talk, we're doing a lot with education prevention in the school system, and we now have 5 different states we're working on, but we have that model that we can roll out. The other thing we're doing is we're on a steering committee with some of the top healthcare organizations in the world, and they want Rotary to reach out to their people that are in administrative and healthcare field, and and so Rotary's been able to really reach different medical professionals that way. Because what's great about Rotary is you have the experts, but they don't necessarily have the resources within the community. And so Rotary can make those connections because there's some great tools for hospitals and medical field to train the hospital staff.
Mhm. So David, do you mind publicly giving your email address?
Oh, no, not at all. It's dave.m@ragasonline.
Okay. And is that Regus dot online?
Yes.
Okay,
Correct.
terrific.
Yeah.
You'll be hearing from me. Thank
All
you.
right. Terrific. Any other questions I can answer?
Dave, this is Gary Tree.
Yeah.
Joyce and I are on the same committee in the Downtown Madison Club.
Okay.
And one of the initiatives that we are looking into is how we can make an impact on a project level in the trafficking area. And so I'm interested in hearing a little bit more about how we could take resources to the hospitals and to the administrative staff and engage in educating them. There's just this is such a wide and broad issue. There's many ways and many different areas to engage in the trafficking solutions. So education, of course, is one of them. So could you give us a little bit of a deeper dive into what that looks like in terms, because we have a number of large healthcare systems here in Madison, and we could create a very good network very quickly, I believe.
That's fantastic. Well, I'm actually on a call this Thursday. They've asked us to join as Rotary representative with some of the top healthcare officials around the United States. Again, I mentioned the American Hospital Association, with the law firm Jones Day is kind of heading up this subcommittee or this committee, and they've developed tools to train hospitals administrators and hospital employees that they're in most cases they're digital training courses. And as I mentioned in the presentation, the studies say that a traffic victim goes to the hospital sometime around 15 to 18 times before they ever realize that she was trafficked. So that's usually the first place they go is the medical facility. So this is such a huge issue, and what I can do is put you in contact with those healthcare officials that are working on this. I actually have a meeting with one of my healthcare officials with Wellstar tomorrow to talk about getting in their hospital. And so I'd love to have kind of a sidebar conversation with you about this this curriculum that's already been built, that's ready to go into hospital. They're doing training in hospitals all over the country, and they're trying to help. Rotary is going to try to help them launch this globally as well.
Joyce, what do you think of that? You're muted.
I had to unmute. I think it's great. I'm a little bit more interested in not so much what's going on domestically than I am what's going on internationally. And we've got a lead from a group in Uganda who's working on this project. There are several USAID projects in Central and Eastern Europe that is of interest because they would be adding funds to the project. And just like in polio, and Dave, I think you mentioned this as well, is that Rotary has just this incredible network, and we need to find partners to work with us because we can't do it alone. And the human trafficking, the whole scheme is too heavy for any one group to work on. So our little niche is education, making sure we can educate in the schools, educating trainers to train in schools, and also the community, religious leaders. So you can't just expect it to happen in one place. because these people move around, and so they've got to be identified in a variety of different ways.
Well, a couple of things as far as international goes. Obviously, Rotary Action Group is international, and we're actually working on a big grant with a group called Hope for Justice in Uganda, and they do they do an incredible work there. And so we're looking at partnering with. We are going to partner with them to go into Uganda. They do self-help groups, they do education, they do all sorts of. It's really a holistic approach. So they actually go in and free an entire community.
Mhm.
They train law enforcement. They go in and, like I say, they do self-help groups. They do education. They have entrepreneurship programs, so they can teach these people how to make a living, so they're not being sold back into trafficking.
Is the Unseen Project, is that the one?
It's not. It's Hope for Justice,
Hope for
and
Justice.
but I have heard of Unseen as well. But one thing that Hope for Justice, and obviously we do as an action group, we don't ever want to reinvent the wheel. So there's a project
Right.
that we can go into that partner with, and that's kind of what we do. And then the local front, as far as education, as I mentioned earlier, that we work with a group called Three Strands Global, and they already have the curriculum built. And what I love about their program, it's not just trafficking one-on-ones, so to speak. They deal with self-esteem. They deal with all the issues that kids deal with, internet safety, and it's very age appropriate, so they can start as early as middle school and move all the way through high school. And like I mentioned in the talk earlier, one of the young ladies that was in ninth grade became a nurse because she was so inspired. So we're not only preventing trafficking, but we're inspiring a generation to make a difference because they're the ones that are going to solve the problem eventually. So
Thank you.
the other thing I'll mention too is that we work, as I mentioned in the talk earlier, but we work a lot with the business community. So in partnership with what we're doing with grants and things like that, we've got some great relationships with Walmart and Delta and UPS and some other big corporations on this issue. And they're helping partner with us to give paid internships to survivors as well. Thoughts, Gary? You have any other thoughts on that?
Yeah, I've had a little bit of background with some of the trafficking. There's a not-for-profit group here in Madison is trying to develop a recovery center for women that are pulled down to the trafficking that's going on in our area. And one of the key components is to reintroduce them into society with the ability to earn a living and to increase their skill set so that they can be good citizens and productive. And so I'm encouraged that that folks like Walmart and Coke and Delta and Marriott are working on intern programs to come alongside and build skills so the survivors can be independent.
That's right, because that's the key. If they don't get a sustainable job, they end up back in the life, unfortunately. But I'd love to connect you with a group we work with in Atlanta because they're looking at scaling that program. But they also have a mentorship program for other organizations, so they can teach them with some of the things that they do. Because I love their program because it's completely holistic. So if a girl comes into their facility at 12, 14, they can maintain, they give them school, they give them education, they give them a high school equivalency diploma, and then give them a 10-week course on job training, and then a paid internship and a full-time job. So they can basically take them from, and some of the young ladies that I've met are just incredible stories of hope, and to see where they were and where they've come to is just pretty incredible. The other thing I didn't mention too is we work a lot with Jones Day Law Firm, and they've created a pro bono playbook for attorneys. And so we're trying to get Rotary to connect with them, law firms around the country. There's 19 cities they're targeted. And I think yours is one of them. But what they do, they have this playbook. So if a girl needs either a record or sponge, or they need custody of their child back, or they've got something else going on, they can do it for free. And so it's a great opportunity that Rotary can engage that way as well.
Yeah, it's another service. Say, what is the name of the organization in Atlanta that you just?
It's called Wellspring Living.
Okay, and I will reach out to you independently after this conference, so via email, and
Okay.
we can get connected that way.
That's great.
Dave,
Yeah.
this is Lee Ross from the
Yeah.
Cross.
Uh-huh.
Is Rotary involved in any way with the National Safe Place initiative?
Yeah. Yeah, we are actually with, I can't think of the place now. But yeah, it's a convenience store. Yeah, we are. Because we actually, one thing that Rotary did is during the Super Bowls, the one in Minnesota, the one in Houston, the one in Atlanta, we were quite closely engaged in that. And part of one of the things we did, Quick Trip, that's the name of it, Quick Trip, has a safe zone. And so we worked with them and actually went around and placed the Polaris hotline, the safe line in the bathrooms and of the different Quick Trips. And during the Atlanta Super Bowl, because I was very involved here, we reached out to 600 hotels and gave them information on this issue. But during that Super Bowl, they rescued, I think it was 45 women and arrested over 120 men.
Okay, is that that's not the Quick Trip that's Wisconsin based? Is that another one in the Georgia area?
No, I think it is the Wisconsin-based Quick Trip.
Oh, really?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, they started a safe zone, so it's not just for trafficking. It's anything that a child may need. They come in there. They've been trained and they've created that safe zone.
Okay, well, that's news. That's good news.
Yeah, and then we've seen a lot of progress. Just for instance, the law enforcement now. One thing that we also encourage too, and like in Rotary Club, is to get law enforcement trained. As a matter of fact, in my community, we're holding a training, or the Georgia Bureau of Investigation is holding a training, but Rotary sponsoring it. We've got 7 police departments coming to that training. But why that's so important is there was a operation in Georgia called Operation Not Forgotten about 6 months ago, and they rescued 39 missing kids and arrested many, many men. But what was great about it was they had all the women placed in a facility before they rescued them. So the collaboration is beginning to be much more better than it has been in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And also I'll say too that just hosting a community event, we've done several around the world, but particularly in the U.S. where we have a open it to the public, and we'll have somebody from the either the FBI or one of the bureaus or local police. We'll have sometimes a survivor, attorney general's office, things like that, to drive awareness. But what it does also, it brings new people to Rotary that hadn't heard about what we're doing and all the great work we do.
Well, thank you, Dave. I think we may be interested in following up with you. There's some activities going on in our community here, but not connected with Rotary. And so there's some interesting things we should be doing potentially together.
Yeah, definitely. Also, there's a question here about the playbook. Is that the legal playbook that you're referring to? Yes. Okay. There is, and I can have a call with Jones Day tomorrow evening. So I will ask. There's a lady named Laura Ellsworth that's over the global initiative for Jones Day around the world, and so she and her team created that playbook, and it just launched. So I'll find out more about it. Are you an attorney by chance?
No.
Dave?
Yep.
Dave, are you seeing the comments on the chat?
I am. Yeah, so I'm looking at now. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, Dave, I'm an attorney, and I'm just
Okay.
curious because maybe the public defender's office can get involved with the project.
That's perfect. No, I think that's great. And that's what Rotary's trying to do, because Jones Day obviously has written the playbook, but they want to get the playbook to as many legal areas that can help. And also they want them to give them input, because it's a living document. If they see, oh, you need to do that, you need to do that. But the public defender's office is perfect, because a big part of these girls end up getting some kind of felony while they were being trafficked.
Mm-hmm,
And the one thing too that's really, like in Georgia, we just passed, which was great this session, that even if they're an adult, they can have their record expunged because it happened while they were being trafficked. As long as it happened while they were being trafficked, they can have the record expunged. But I'd love to talk to you. That's a great point about public defender's office. So I'd love to talk to you further about that.
Yes, I'd love to talk to you too. That'll be great.
Just send me a note. Do you have my contact? You want to put,
I'll put my contact here.
and I'll put mine in there too. Hang on a second. Get your contact. No, yeah, I'd love to talk to you about that. There's so many ways that we've gotten involved in. There's almost so many it's hard to keep up with. But that's the great thing about Rotary, because we have, educators, law enforcement, every business leaders all in our club. And so, like we always say in my club, is somebody needs to do business, just go to Rotary. So
Yeah.
also, just out of curiosity, are y'all still in lockdown?
Semi. We just started our Rotary luncheon meetings up last week. I think they're going to have a new one tomorrow, but it's limited, and masks are required in public spaces, and they're looking for social distancing. So it's no longer the lockdown that we experienced a year ago. It's a little bit less, but people just encouraged to be careful, cautious, and safe.
Yeah, that's right. We're fortunate. Our club, we're a pretty large club. I'm in Roswell, Georgia. We're about 230 members, and we've been meeting since June of last year in person. Limited amount, but in person.
Sure. Yeah, our normal attendance, I think, on a Wednesday lunch was somewhere around 220 or so. Is that right, Joyce? And so that got shut off last March and continued. The first time they've met in person since then was last Wednesday, and it was a much reduced size.
Okay. Yeah, I think we'll all, at least for the near future, we'll do Zoom and live for a while anyway, till people feel comfortable.
Yeah. We're getting closer. People are becoming vaccinated, and they're a little more confident, but care is still necessary. So it's just be careful.
That's right. And then I see one question about small scale projects in your club. We have, depending on the community, there's a group I mentioned earlier, Wellspring Living, but we had one of the Rotary, they created or opened up a new safe home for juveniles, first one of its type in this area. And so Rotary went in and helped them do a landscape project, which was really great because they try to make the venue look like home. And then we're going back actually this upcoming weekend to do some more work there. But we also helped them get furniture donated, brand new furniture from different contacts we have. So those kind of things are always available to do as well.
It seems to me that as soon as you start probing a little bit with an idea and a concept, if you're diligent and patient and will persevere, opportunities will present themselves. And this kind of, we've been discussing this, how we can engage in some sort of a trafficking project for many months, better than probably 8 or 9 months now. And Joyce has taken the role of doing a deep dive into looking into various organizations and folks that have ongoing programs that we could plug into or take under advisement and move forward with the idea that we don't reinvent the wheel. So, and this is encouraging to hear your background and some of the contacts and resources that you have, because I think there's going to be a cumulative effect here with opportunities, and both at large and small levels, and both nationally here within our own community and international as well. So this is exciting.
Yeah, and the other thing I'll mention too, a lot of times people come to me with great ideas, and they're not mine, but they're great ideas. And my president of my club said, "Why don't we train all the school bus drivers?" This was prior to COVID, and so we trained in the second largest school district in Atlanta. We trained 1,000 school bus drivers. Gave them a little card, and I remember the survivor that spoke said at the event said that the happiest part of her day while she was being trafficked was being on a school bus because how kind they were to her. And so, the other thing is really interesting. Somebody mentioned about the beer during the main session. A friend of mine came to me that owns a brewery near where I live and said, "I'd like to do a beer about human trafficking." So he created the Freedom Fighter IPA, and we put the facts in Georgia of trafficking. And I went to the CO Delta because he's a friend of mine, and they ran it on their planes during the slavery month in January a year ago. And so it was a creative idea that started a conversation with people that would normally not be talking about that, but also in a non-confrontational, threatening way.
Well, yeah, and that this kind of discussion just breeds that kind of ingenuity. One of the issues that I think we have here in Madison is the denial.
Yeah.
There's a just flat denial that it even exists, and it's amazing once you do a little probing to see how proliferous it really is, and it's hard to wrap your mind around how this could go on in this sophisticated community we live in.
That's right. And denial you're right. I mean, when I first heard about it, or when I was at that conference, the Passion Conference, I didn't believe it at first. And then I met Melissa and had her come speak to my Rotary Club. And turns out she used to babysit one of our members' kids when she was 12, and he hadn't seen her since all this. Then it was real.
Yeah.
And I think, too, those personal stories about, like in Georgia, we have the second most counties in the United States behind Texas. We have 159 counties. We had 143 counties report trafficking last year.
Wow.
And I think too, I think other thing I didn't really mention because there wasn't enough time, but Rotary has worked really good on legislation, even though we're obviously non-political. But when it's issue-based, Rotary encourages us to engage in that. And so we get Rotarians. We had a work with Senator Bob Corker on the End Modern Slavery Act that was passed a few years ago. And we had 13 senators on both sides of the aisle that co-sponsored legislation because Rotary members went to them. And so a lot of times when you look at your legislation, when they're in, if you keep going to them and say, "Hey, we need stronger legislation, we need more work," then that really helps as well. There's really something for anybody that's any type of interest. There's some way that they can help on this issue.
Well, I think one of the things about human trafficking that is really frightening is, these are not monsters that have green teeth and purple hair and all of that stuff. They're neighbors, they're uncles, they're people these girls may come in contact with on a very social basis that turns into something pretty horrific.
Yeah.
And the whole issue is making aware of unwanted measures.
That's right. And some of that, again, the group we work with several groups, but Three Strands Global deals with that boundaries as well when they're teaching kids about the issue as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I can definitely, if you send me a note, I can definitely forward you some of these resources and websites to the groups we work with.
Probably get more than one note.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd love to just stay in contact. And also, if we would love for one of you all to be the ambassador for your area. It doesn't entail a whole lot extra, but it means that you're our contact in that area. And what happens is if there's something that a club or an organization within Rotary is doing, we can share that with you. So you may not have to reinvent the wheel.
That's excellent.
David, what is the most incredible turnaround that you've experienced as being part of Regus?
There's several. Just some of the work we've done with survivors is pretty amazing. But to give you just one example is that when I first started on this issue, we hosted with 5 Rotary clubs many years ago an event, which it was basically an awareness event. We had law enforcement there, we had Attorney General, we had Survivor, and a few other people. But we were expecting about 50 people. But we had over 500 people from the community show up. And so we trained the law enforcement, or we didn't, but the Georgia Bureau of Investigation trained it. We sponsored it. And from that event, they met a lady that ran a safe home. And so from that training, they made an arrest about 2 weeks later. And the lady they met from the safe home was an expert witness in the trial. The guy got 60 years in jail from just an awareness event at Rotary. But we've seen with this entrepreneurship program, we've seen incredible work with survivors, and Rotary helped from ground up really support the organization Wellspring that did that. And another area that we worked with too in the Philippines with International Justice Mission, they went in there through a grant with Bill Gates and some Rotary work, and they went in it and were trying to reduce child sex trafficking, and they reduced it by 77%. So it's curable. It can be done. And I think Rotary is a perfect organization to really help take that on. And I'll just mention one other thing about Rotary is the presidents have really been very, very supportive, particularly since Ravi Ravinya. He didn't know much about the event, didn't know anything about human trafficking. And so I invited him to the Carter Center event, and he had a chance to visit with President Carter. And we had, like I said, we had 14 countries in 28 states, and it impacted him. He said, "What do you need?" And so he had us come to a panel at the UN for Rotary Day. And then we had the first keynote speaker on human trafficking in Seoul, Korea. And then the Atlanta convention was just huge. We had, like I mentioned earlier, we had 27 presidents switch what they were going to do after being at that convention. Here in Ashton Kutcher spoke, and we had a candlelight vigil there we were expecting, a few thousand people. We had 14,000 people from not just Rotarians from around the community. And we entitled the candlelight vigil, "The Power of One," because that's what Rotary is. If we do for one what we wish we could do for all, but we do it community by community. And that's why I tell people not to get overwhelmed with the issue. If you do what you can in your community with that one organization, it'll grow. But if Rotary does it collectively, the impact we can have is enormous.
That's great advice.
And what you can do if you want to join, just so you know, we're in the process of converting from the UK to the US, but you can still join now. We're going to convert May 1st. But if you go to www.ragas.online, you can join the action group there. It's $35 a year, or it's $70 for 5 years. And you'll get a newsletter, you get resources. We're in the process again, is creating some digital tools. And what I love about what we do is that we connect organizations around the world that deal with this issue. I think in the past, Rotarians and Rotary clubs are doing great work, but all in silos. So what we're trying to do, particularly over the last year or so, is all have that collective impact and share the great ideas that other clubs are doing.
Mm-hmm. So is that membership on an individual basis or a club basis?
It is on a individual, but Rotary International just approved club basis. So if you'd like your club to join, let me know. It's what we've decided to do, $1 a member, but we don't have it on our website because it's just easy for us to have that conversation and join that way. But yeah, let me know about the club, because then what happens is the presidents usually are too busy to take on. But if you get that advocate within that club or that ambassador that this is their issue, they'll keep it going year after year. And that we have a 5-year membership, we have an individual annual membership, we have a Rotary membership. The only difference between the club, because the club has to be annual, because each board has to vote on approve it each year. But yeah, we've had several clubs join this year as well. And we hope to have a big presence in Houston. If you're going to that convention, it's really great because we're one of our persons started E-Club, Karen, who's in Minnesota, and are chairing a human trafficking initiative at the Zone Institute in Houston in September, which is going to be live. And we've got the ambassador for the State Department, or past ambassador to the State Department, John Cotton Richmond, for the Trafficking Persons Office. We hope to have Tim Tebow. We're working on getting him. We've got the CEO of Hope for Justice is going to be there. But what's great about it is that the host committee for that Zone Institute is going to be the host committee for the Houston Convention. So we hope to have a presence like we did in Atlanta for that. So, and I don't know if you saw the Rotary magazine, our president-elect, he mentioned human trafficking in his open article about dealing with youth and empowering girls is kind of his theme.
Great resources. Thank you.
And just on a side note too, there's a young man that we work with, but he works in human trafficking, but he rode a tandem bike from India to Hamburg, Germany for the international convention, and went through Iran and rode, I think it's 5,000 miles to raise awareness. And he put people on the back of his bike and to tell them the story as he went along. But this amazing video, I'll send you a link to his video.
Yeah.
But anyway, he's agreed to do it for us next April, a year from now, and ride into the convention in Houston and do about 3,000 miles across the U.S.
Oh,
to raise awareness. So we hope to have, maybe he can ride up on stage at the international convention.
we'll watch for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be good to get the route published and get him plugged into the cities that he goes through and the Rotary clubs that are there, and to just build some synergy.
Yeah, and so we actually he'd already signed up. We'd already bought him a tandem bike, and we were going to launch it April 1st of last year. Well, you know what happened? COVID hit. And we had actually had UPS had agreed to sponsor the Truckers Against Trafficking to go every stop with us. And we're going to sponsor, and then we got the International Hotel Group was going to sponsor all the hotels and do an awareness event at all their hotels. So hopefully we can make that happen next year.
That'll be awesome. I look forward to that.
Okay. Any other thoughts or comments?
You're giving us a lot of food for thought. So.
Yeah, it's a lot to take in. Like I said, you pick that one or two things. Some people, the healthcare seems to be really something that a lot of clubs have gravitated to because they have the administrators in their club, and they can do these programs without adding too much burden to their staff, because with COVID, the nurses have, it's been rough. So they do it in a way that it kind of doesn't create too much of a burden on what they're doing, a workload.
David, this has been so helpful. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, and I appreciate all that you all do. And just send me an email and we can stay in touch. And
Yeah, I've already sent it.
Okay. Terrific.
Why am I not surprised? Yeah, I think we'll have to internally work on identifying someone interested in becoming a steward for our club, and to keep that connection alive and be able to bring it back to the membership.
I don't know if you noticed one of the chats, but it says, my husband just arrived. He is a trainer at UPS. He was very happy about the human trafficking trainings at UPS. There's another organization.
Yeah.
That's right. Well, UPS has trained over 80,000 employees, and they now have human trafficking task force within UPS.
Dave, is Amazon doing anything with this? With their drivers?
They're not that I know of. I know that it was kind of interesting because the CEO, David Abney, who's not there anymore, of UPS, he actually challenged FedEx to donate $100,000 to Truckers Against Trafficking, and they did that. So the great thing about this issue is these organizations are working together because they know how important it is.
Yeah.
George, can you put your email in the chat just so I have it?
My address is bcgroup98.
Okay,
Oh, I'll put it in chat. Sure.
Okay.
That's a great idea.
that'd be great. Well, like I say, as we move forward, just let me know anything I can do for you all or any suggestions.
I think I will sign up as an individual just to get it going. Because I'd like to be on that mailing list. There you go.
All right, perfect. I'll definitely do that, and I will get you all the information that you need, and
Mhm.
I'd love for you all to be an ambassador. I can send you more information about what that entails.
Yeah, would you do that? I'd appreciate that. Thank you.
I sure will. I'm just putting yours down on my list here. Well, terrific.
Well, this has been good. You're in Georgia right now in Atlanta, right?
I am.
So it's pretty near your bedtime then, I guess.
Not too bad. I do have a board meeting for the action group in the morning. It's kind of funny because we're in 6 continents. So the last board meeting, one of our members from Australia had his lights off in the corner because his wife was asleep. And he had a flashlight in his head. Yeah. It's one thing about Rotarians, they're dedicated.
Yes, they are.
All right, y'all have a great evening then.
Yeah, I'm going to be off
Thank
too. Thank you very much, David.
Okay.
Great to hear you, Gary.
Thank you for sharing. This was an excellent opportunity to learn a lot more about this issue and ways that we can engage. So it's very helpful.
Well, thanks. I appreciate it. Y'all have a great evening.
You too. Good night.
Okay, night.